Welcome back. Good morning, good evening, whatever it is for you. Let's talk about Illustrator. Okay, so Illustrator is also another program within the Adobe Suite, which is a vector-based program. What we were talking about recently was Photoshop, which is a bitmap-based program, which is a bunch of little dots. Okay, that's what bitmap is. But vector is reading just points, and so it's making a straight line from one point to another. It can be blown up to any resolution with no distortion, unlike Photoshop. So let's take a look. These are the things we're going to talk about. We're right here at part 3, and we're going to do an Illustrator demo. And just to be clear, Illustrator is a program made by Adobe, which is different than Photoshop. So what I want you guys to do is open up Illustrator. Okay, so go to your applications, open up Adobe Illustrator. You're going to see this window here, and just like Photoshop, it has all previous projects that you've been working on recently. Now it's really weird, like I noticed it doesn't show what I worked on recently. It's kind of weird what it picks on here because these aren't the most recent things I've worked on. I don't understand that, but it'll sometimes let you pick up where you started, pick up where you stopped. Okay, so we're going to create a new file. So I just hit the create new button is what I just did. And this window will pop up here, and it looks like Photoshop, but it's not. Same thing. It kind of asks you what kind of layout you want. You got web here at 1920 by 1080 points, and then you got up here is an option for 8.5 by 11 inches. So please be aware there's a difference between inches and points. So inches are inches on a ruler, and points are pixels on a computer, so they are different. So right here it'll say whether it's inch or PT for point at the end. I like to just teach on this letter size because that fits a piece of paper. We'll call this Illustrator Test 1. That's what we're going to title this file. That's where we name the file. I see that I got a width of 8.5, I got a height of 11 inches, and my orientation is that way, which is this way instead of this way. And everything else looks good to me, so let's just hit create and start creating. So again, you get this blank canvas here. Okay, and so Illustrator is a little bit different and than Photoshop, and it's a lot like Photoshop. So a lot of things are very similar, such as the layout. But this is a artboard, not a canvas. So in Illustrator, you can work on up to 99 artboards, meaning these white spaces. So if you're going to do a catalog, you could lay out 99 pages at once, and then have a copy paste a bunch of the same content, and then just change each page, and then you can export PDFs, and it's awesome. Okay, so let me see what let me get up. I'm going to take the text tool and just paste what it is we're supposed to talk about here. Please give my computer a moment to catch up with what it's told to do. It's being a bad boy right now. Okay, so this is what we're going to go over. So an Illustrator and intro, okay? So we learned how to start up a new document. This is our artboard, okay? And let's just go over some of the tools here. So Illustrator, the most used tool here is going to be your pen tool. well, I guess might not be your most used, but it's what I use a lot. And this is definitely going to take some practice, so this is really cool because you can click and then you pull out these points. Okay, and I'm clicking and dragging to make these arcs. Click and I'm dragging to make these arcs. When I see this circle, I can close that shape. All shapes have to be closed in Illustrator for it to properly be a proper vector image. Okay, so same tool, pen tool, I can just do straight lines. Okay, and they're perfectly straight. So these are real basic shapes, but it can get very complex very quickly. Okay, so the pen tool is a great tool to design logos or trace things, and it's fantastic. Okay, so a lot like Photoshop, you'll be using this tool right here, but they call it a selection tool, but it's similar to the move tool. So if I click that, it creates a bounding box around it, and again you can go to the corner and make it wider or taller, and again you can hit shift and make it proportionally larger or smaller. Okay, so that is your selection tool. If you want to get fancy, you just hit the hotkey of V and that'll get you right to it. Let's get this microphone closer. Okay, so it looks very similar, but the next tool down is a white arrow, and it's called the Direct Selection tool. So you can directly select these nodes with that. If I use the black one, I can't directly select one node or multiple nodes, but if you want to change a shape, you can use this guy, and it also lets you move these anchor handles. Okay, so you can modify your thing. Same with this. So what I'm doing is clicking down right here, dragging a square. Whatever's within that square, that is going to affect that particular node or nodes. You can do multiple. What's cool is when you drag over that node area, you'll see that you got this white dot here, and that's for your corners. You can adjust the radius like that. See that? So I want to do this one. This one's dark blue, and it gave me that little circle. I can pull that circle in. Okay, so let's go to the rectangle here over on the left. If I wanted to draw out a rectangle, I see right away, before I even go to the move tool or anything, it'll give me these nodes to mess with right now. So I can pull it in, and now I can go to the selection tool, click on the canvas, and that'll get rid of my selection. So if you're not sure how to get rid of the selection bounding box that it's got there, just go to your move tool and click on the canvas. I think you can also go to select and deselect. Okay, so let's go over that again. I can get my rectangle tool, and I can make a rectangle, and I can pull these little nodes in to make a cool rounded rectangular shape. This seems super basic, but as I'm going to show you in some other logos, it can get very high tech. Actually, for example, I threw this on the canvas earlier. I just want to show you guys. So you can see right here I used that radius, and then this font was actually a font from 1934 on an actual sign, so I had to basically hand trace it with the pen tool, tracing over a photo, and that's how I was able to make that. Okay, so let's see. So put text in, it's just like you would think. You go over to the T. You can also press the letter T on your keyboard, which I'm going to do right now. Now my cursor's turned into a T. It's going to put in some dummy text because I just left clicked where I want to have my text. And it says lorem ipsum. Now if you don't know what that is, that's just dummy text. It's like some Latin dummy text that you can put in catalogs and things like that if your client doesn't already have content ready to go, and or a website. So let's say you wanted to get started working on it, but they didn't have their Word documents ready for you. You can Google what lorem ipsum is, and you'll see it's just a paragraphical form of dummy text. So it gives you that to start off. And I'm going to type in something that says, "You are awesome, never forget that." Okay? You are awesome, never forget that. Okay? So, I'm going to drag it over here. Let's say I wanted that text to be white. You're going to see that I have this text selected here because I'm used my selection tool. I have my text selected. Up here I can change the color. Okay? And let's say I wanted to put it within this square here. I can select both of them by dragging a box over all of them, and then I can use my shift finger and left click the mouse to make it all bigger at the same time. So I can click one thing and make it smaller or bigger, or I can drag over both of them and make it smaller or bigger. Okay, so the way you can select multiple items is you can drag like this and get both of them, or you can click once, hold shift, and anything else you click will also get selected. See that? Alright? So you are awesome. Never forget that. Now, let's say you wanted your text a different color. You can also change it right here, just like Photoshop. Color picker comes up, and then you got the whole gamut, the whole lineup. Okay, that looks good. So we got yellow and black. All right, and then same with your square. If you want to change the color of your square, you can go right here, or you can go up here. But right here is where I like to go. And let's say I wanted to make that dark purple or purple. Okay, so that's how you change that. Now there's something called oh, okay, well I don't, I'll go real quick, but there's something called a stroke. So if I select this rectangle, you'll see that there's a swatch here. It's called the stroke color. So what does a stroke mean? Basically it just means it's an outline. Let's double click this. So my color picker comes up. Let's say I want to do a light blue stroke. Okay. Now you can't see that very good, so I'm going to make it bigger. Up here I have my square selected. Up here it says stroke, and it's at 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point, da 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 da, till it's really fat. Okay, so this is how you can add a perfect outline to everything. Let me see if I have an example. So on this I did a stroke on the text right here. It's very thin dark blue. All this right here, all that light blue line is a stroke, and then obviously this big fat, there's a white stroke on this direct ink. So I just want to show you that's some ways that strokes would be used. This whole entire perimeter shape has a gray stroke on very light gray. So that's how it would be used in the real world. Real world. Okay? Also, what else do we need to talk about? Pan and zoom. So, a lot like Photoshop, there's the zoom tool. Boom. You click that. You can click, 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 and come in. You can hit Alt and click back out. Okay? So if you hold Shift, it'll kind of do this action. Hold Shift and do that movement on the mouse. Okay, so there's a couple different ways to... You can also, let's say I want to get up into basic right here. You can hold down in that particular area and it'll go into that particular area. So let's talk about why would I use Illustrator over Photoshop? Well, let me show you. If I had this word, basic, in Photoshop, and I went like this, it would turn into a bunch of pixels. But as you can see, I've zoomed into a fraction of your fingernails how big this is right now. And there is no distortion. It is perfect. It can be blown up to the size of a football field. And it will always be crystal clear, perfect lines, no pixelization. That's what vector is. That's what the power of vector is. That's why people want vectors. So the thing is, this is what vector is. I'm going to put this into a different view for you. I'm going to press Y on my keyboard. What is it? Hold on. Let me figure out, what am I trying to press here? Yeah, Command Y. As you can see, this is all the computer program is picking up on, is it's making points. It's saying from this dot to this dot is just a straight line, and you're going to arc and go to this dot, and everything within it is this certain color. Photoshop is just making a bunch of squares that are colored. Okay, so that's a lot more information. So I can create a Photoshop file and an Illustrator file that look exactly the same, but your Photoshop file is going to be way bigger in size, you know, because it's got more information. Illustrator is going to have very little information because it uses this vector system. And so the file size will be much smaller. There are things that Illustrator can do that Photoshop cannot, and vice versa. So that's why they're two different programs. So what this is showing you right now is just the line version, lines only. The other cool thing about this is how we do custom routed things. So I can send an Illustrator file to a plasma cutter, a water jet specialist, and they can cut this design that you've made out of steel, out of plastic, aluminum, Lexan, foam, anything that a CNC router is hooked up to. So with this is how we did a lot of the architectural signs up in Portland for Nike and the Seahawks and Microsoft and all these big companies. It's how you do these giant three-dimensional signs, but we just cut it, we make a bunch of these files, and this layer would be cut out of steel, this layer would be cut out of plastic, and this layer would be cut out of, I don't know what, you know, all sorts of different things. So that's one way of how you use Illustrator in a production sense. Okay, let's go back into the mode, the regular mode. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you about? This is just an intro. So we got, and rulers. This is what's great. I love this. You can go to View, Rulers, Show Rulers. At the top, and the side popped up these beautiful rulers. So that shows you and indicates to you that from here is 0 and to here is 8.5 inches. Well, that's exactly how big my canvas is. So this is nice to have if you want to know exactly how big something is or how big your canvas is. You got rulers there. Okay, so let's say I wanted a square that is exactly 2 inches. I can pull this out there and find my 2 inches. But also when I pull it out, you can see this little gray box hovering also tells me how big it is too. And then also when I pull out a box up here, you're going to see you can adjust how many inches you want that. Let's say I wanted that to be 2 inches. I just hit the letter 2 or the number 2, hit enter. Now it is exactly 2 inches wide. And let's say I wanted it exactly 2 inches tall. Perfect. So this is the great thing about Illustrator is you can, to the inch, to the fraction of an inch, you can design things out perfect. This is really cool for, I love this for print and production stuff. I mean, it's fantastic for web too. But Illustrator's mega powerful. So template. Okay, so let's say what would be good to use for template? I'm just looking at my desktop right now because I want to drag something in that I can use as a template. Okay, here's a shot of she's gonna kill me, but this is my wife. I made this suit for her. Made this Wonder Woman suit for her. Isn't she wonderfully beautiful? Okay, so let's say I wanted to make this like a template. I can double click this, or sorry, scratch that. We can go to layers here and pull this down, and you will see that she is selected because there is a blue selection here. If I double click that, I can lock it, okay, and hit OK, and now she can't be moved around until I unlock it. So another way to lock it is just to hit right here in this space and it will create a lock symbol, which means she's locked. If I unlock it, I can move her around. But why would I want to lock it? Well, I want to take the pen tool and draw like her, let's say I wanted to trace her shape. So I would, let's say I just wanted to make like a silhouette of her. I could easily go like this and see how this pen tool is. Now this pen tool is something you're going to have to mess with. It takes a lot of practice to get good at it. So I'm clicking down, pulling with my mouse. That's a straight line. I'm pulling out a little bit. I'm clicking down, I'm pulling out a little bit and getting that arc the way I want it. I'm pressing down there. I can zoom in a lot. This is just a straight line right here. This is subtly, well, let's make that a straight line. So I just click and then click, click. I'm holding down. So I want you, the reason why I'm showing you this is you might want to trace a logo, or somebody may give you a crappy logo that you need to trace because they can't find their proper file. You'd be surprised how many people do not have their own logo. They like own the company and they don't even have their own logo, or the logo they give you is like the size of a postage stamp and they want it the size of a California. So you might have to trace some things. And again, you can Control-Z to undo and go back if you don't like a section that you just traced. So I'm just going to do her torso or upper area. But as I go, you see that it's like filling in. Well, I may not want it to be filled in because I can't see where I'm going, so I can switch this, and it'll switch from a fill to an outline stroke, and I can always go back when I'm done tracing. Now see how much easier that is for me to see the graphic. Now I can switch it again, and I got my stroke. Okay, so, and this is like Photoshop where I can go onto the linked file here, which is the image of her, the photo, and I can undo the eye. And so now we basically have a vectorized image of her. Okay, so this could be used, this could be the start of the logo, right? So let's see, if I was me, maybe I would want to do a circle and cut her out of it. You can take this little Pathfinder, we'll go into this more. Put her in the front. I'll go over this some more, but as you can see, you can start making logos real quick. So I want to show you, I'm going to go over that more because I just did a couple things that would be interesting to you. So here's something I want to show you. One of the super radical things about Illustrator is you have the ability to put things in front of each other and behind each other. Ooh, that's vibrating hard. Let me fix that. I don't like that color. Okay, so you see that these are overlapping in this format. This is what's super important to know about Illustrator. Let's say I want this green to the front. You can select this green, right click, arrange, bring to front. Okay? You can select this black thing, right click, arrange, bring to front. Get used to doing this. You can send it to the back too. Left click to select it, right click, arrange, send to back. See the difference there? So this is going to be, sounds stupid, but this is absolutely important. So let's take a better look at that. If I select all of them, up here it'll let you align them in any of these different formats. Let's say I want them centered. Boom, they're centered. Let's say I want them centered at the vertical alignment. Boom, now they're done. Okay? So, but I want this black and I want this red color to be sent to the back. But actually I want my black to be forward more, so let's see. I can select them all, and then I can hit shift, which will, then I can hit, what is it? Yeah, shift, and unselect the things I don't want. Now my black is back there, but it's hidden, and I can right click, arrange, and bring it to the front. See that? That's something you really want to know. Why? Because in this is made up of a bunch of different shapes. This Metals Direct logo, but some are in front of the other. Okay? You still have layers in Illustrator, so there's create a new layer, there's create a new layer. Those are all blank layers. So you can still use the layer system, but within the layer system, you can move shapes within any single layer system. I know it's deep, dude, but it's really cool. So you can build a big Illustrator file without even using these layers if you just have your front and send to front and all that. So it's right click, you have to have something selected. It's right click and arrange. And then you'll see send to front, bring forward, send backwards, send to back. You can use all those for different shapes. So let's mess them up again. I want to show you if I select them all by holding down and dragging, I can left align them, I can center align them, right justify, vertical top, center, okay? So that's pretty cool, huh? And that's how we generate logos. It's just this is a lot of how like I get started designing. Is I'll just mess with shapes like this. Maybe I like that right there, and then I'll put maybe a graphic in the middle of that. Yeah. So let's see what happens. If I select this text right here, I can hit Alt, and a little white arrow will come up, and I'll be able to duplicate it. Let's look at that again. If I left click this text and I also hit Alt, a little white arrow will come up next to my black arrow. That means you're ready to duplicate something. Pretty cool, huh? Or I can just do select, select, edit, copy, paste. And it'll paste one. Okay, so remember you have that. That's how you can duplicate things. So I have my text selected here. I can take my eyedropper tool and choose that color or this color. Any questions? If you have any questions, please message me via Canvas. What else was I supposed to tell you? Formats, basic shapes, squares, tracing art, auto trace feature. Okay, so let's bring in, shoot, I don't have a very good auto trace image ready to go. Let's try, I'm looking at my desktop again. Let's try this creature that I created in ZBrush and show you the auto trace feature. So let's say you have an image and it's not the cleanest thing in the world. You can drag it into Illustrator like I just did. I just left clicked it from my desktop and drug it right into Illustrator. I select this image that we brought in of this creature, and let's go up here to image trace. Image trace. Now it's going to automatically vectorize that image. If I like the result, I will hit expand, which means make it vector. If you see expand, it means make it vector. At least that's what I've noticed. Okay? Now, as you can see, it's completely vector. It's completely, it can be blown up. So that would be great for, let's say, some cool packaging or something in the background. That would be like a sick image to have back there, okay? So I love that. This works even better on the more simple and the more contrasty, like a Nike swoosh, okay? So that's just really simple. I mean, it works like perfect. Okay, so I brought in a really difficult image for it to trace, so it's going to have its own effect. However, you do have some leeway into that right here. I just went back a couple steps, by the way. Let me go back completely. So you have an image. You want to image trace it. Boom, I click image trace. I can also mess with it. Before I expand means make it happen. Okay, right now this is just a preview of what it's going to look like. If I hit this little icon here, a window will pop up that looks like this. And it's got a bunch of presets. So let's see, I could do 3 colors. and it'll go like, okay, converting to 3 colors, please wait. This goes a lot faster on a more simple image. And boom, now it's got like a 3-color version in vector of this beast. Pretty darn cool. Love it. So you can mess with these. And you can have 3 colors, you can have 6 colors, all the way up to 30. So, and you can mess with these as well. So, like if I wanted to make it, okay, so check this out. High fidelity photo. Let's go low fidelity photo because I don't know how long it's going to take it. But let's say I had an image and I wanted it blown up. And I wanted it, I still wanted it vector. This'll make it pretty dang close. So imagine if that was on a billboard and you were driving on a car at 80 miles an hour, that's going to pretty much look perfect because, but if I were to blow up, this image right here on a billboard, it may look absolutely terrible. For example, if I zoom in, it will look like that. So if it was blown up and each of these squares was like 1 foot tall, that's going to look pretty bad. So there are reasons why you'd want to use vector. Not sure if that was the best example, but let's give you an easier shape. Let's give you you know what, maybe I should skip that. I think you get the idea of how that works. No, let's just do it real quick. So I'm going to go to Google. I like the Nike logo because it's simple. The Nike swoosh. Okay. So let's say I had a client and their name was Nike, and I can right-click that, copy the image, minimize my web, left-click onto my canvas, edit, paste. By the way, that series of steps is a really good thing for you to learn right there. Image trace. And by the way, Nike would definitely already have this logo ready to go in the proper format. We're just talking about people that don't have their together. So you can see this has traced it perfectly because I'm going to hit expand. And then I can take this white arrow and select things I don't want and delete them. And now, instead of having a pixelized image, I got this mega clean, perfecto Nike swoosh. Okay. Fantastic. So, what else do we got to do here? Basic formats. Okay, so then to save a copy, I want to show you what artboards are. Artboards are really important. So we have one artboard here, which is this white one. Boom, boom. Let's get rid of that. This one right here, that's an artboard. Let's say I wanted to create another artboard. Here's the artboard tool. I'm going to left click that. I'm holding my space bar, by the way, to do this. Okay, holding my space bar. Let's say I wanted an artboard just for this. Okay, now I can save this file. I can save a copy, and a new window will come up. it'll say, hey, do you want to save it as an Illustrator file where it's got everything that you saw on there, or you want to save it as a PDF or anything else. So let's do a PDF. Excuse me. Let's do a PDF, and let's save it to my desktop. But down here, I can save all the artboards out, or just one of them, or a series of them, 1 to 2, or one. Let's say I had 50 artboards, I might want to save 1 through 12. Okay, so what I like to do is create proofs on different artboards, and every time I get a revision set, I will work on a new artboard. That way, if they go back to a different design, I got it on an artboard 1, 2, or 3, or something like that. So my range right here means which artboard do you want? I want to do that second one only. Okay, so I'm going to press 2 because that was artboard 2. Save. Another window is going to come up. Do you want to set it at Illustrator default or a high quality print? If you're going to print, do that one. If you're just like me doing a demo, just do this one. Do you want to preserve the Illustrator editing capabilities? No. The rest you can leave the same. So I hit OK, OK. And upon my desktop arrived this beautiful image. Let me make it smaller so it'll fit on this other screen that I have here. This just arrived onto my desktop, so it's perfect. Exactly what we wanted. Now look at, only that artboard came up. You want to see your artboards? You go right here. Got artboard 1, artboard 2. We're going to go over this more, so don't think you have to learn this all today. There's also different ways to export it by going to export or going to save a copy. Save a copy gives you some options. Export has more web-related formats. Let's go to save as through export. So export looks a little different because it's got like PNGs and JPEGs. So if you're a web person, you might be using that. PNGs and JPEGs. Okay. So, I like that. I think we did a good job. You guys were great. You were a great class. I didn't have any trouble out of you. If you have any questions, hit me up in Canvas. So that's your little run-through demo on Illustrator. Remember, we're going to go over it more. Don't trip. We're going to go over it more. We're not done. And we'll get you rocking and rolling. So, thank you very much.